I really saw how certain people look at Shedeur, and specifically the older generation, right? The older legends have a lot of respect for Shedeur.
I saw one where Shedeur Sanders was closing his eyes and throwing passes.
5 legends: Jim Tressel, Kurt Warner, Bernie Kosar, Peyton Manning, and Hanford Dixon. 5 completely separate moments. 5 independent men who have won at the absolute ceiling of professional and college football, and every single one of them keeps showing up in the same place, pointing at the same quarterback, saying the same thing. Jim Tressel walked into a gym this offseason and watched Shedeur Sanders throw passes with his eyes closed. A 4-time national champion, the man who went 94-22 at Ohio State, who built dynasties at 2 different levels of the sport, who has been in rooms with elite talent his entire career. He showed up, watched the drills, and nodded. And the footage that cracked the internet open, Shedeur's own camp never posted it. Somebody else caught it. Somebody else put it out. And by the time most people sat down for dinner, the football world had stopped mid-scroll and could not look away. But here is the part nobody is actually saying out loud yet. That gym session is not the story. It is just the newest entry on a list that keeps getting longer, and the names already on that list should make you stop everything and pay attention. Drop one word in the comments right now describing what you think about 5 legends all landing on the same verdict. Just one word. We will be reading every single one of them. Because by the time this video is done, you will understand exactly why these men keep choosing to put their credibility next to a quarterback who has not even started a full NFL season yet. And that answer is a lot more complicated and a lot more revealing than anything you have seen in a highlight clip.
Before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. Share this video with your friends so they don't miss out on all the drama and excitement.
Shout out to Boog, because obviously Shedeur is putting in some work, and obviously when you're putting in work with somebody this legendary in the world of football and Jim Tressel, right? You're talking about national champion, and just so we all know, because I printed it out, I have it right here for you. We're talking about national champion. We're talking about a Division I AA 4-time national championship at Youngstown State. We're talking about the president of Youngstown State was at Ohio State from 01 to 2010, when not 94-22 overall against Rival Michigan, reaching 3 BCS national championship games, and then the 2002 national championship game, which was an undefeated season. Look, this, when I saw this, and by the way, obviously I know Shedeur putting in work with it.
And it was like dinner time, 4th workout of the day. I'm like, 4 workouts? Man, Josh Allen, I don't see any evidence that he even has had 1 workout. And our quarterback has 4. And then, is there even more after that? Is there 5 and 6? Like, these guys, they are on the grind. They are on the hustle. And I'm telling you, I just think this is setting up. Todd Monken has clearly planted that seed that you guys, gentlemen, are in a competition. Get out there, close your eyes, throw some passes, work out, hustle, work out, grind, work out, lunch, work out, dinner, work out.
None of this is real.
Go to the D3 schools, work out some more. Have Jim Tressel come and hang out.
To understand why Jim Tressel showing up in that gym matters as much as it does, you need the full picture of who Jim Tressel actually is, not the general idea of the name. The real, complete, unvarnished resume of a man who spent his entire career building winners. Tressel did not build his reputation at Ohio State. He built it long before he ever stepped onto a Power 5 sideline at Youngstown State, where he did something that most coaches never come close to achieving at any level of this sport. He won 4 Division IA national championships. Not 1, not a two-peat that gets written into a program's history and celebrated for a decade. 4. Sustained, repeated, dominant championship-level football over a stretch of time that demands not just talent evaluation, but the ability to rebuild, reload, and return to the top every single time. That kind of sustained excellence at any level of football is rare enough that it defines a career on its own. Tressel had not even arrived at Columbus yet, when he had already accomplished more than most coaches accomplish in an entire lifetime in the sport. Then comes Ohio State. From 2001 through 2010, Tressel put together one of the most respected tenures in the history of that program, which means one of the most respected tenures in the history of college football, because Ohio State does not hand out that kind of legacy lightly. His overall record in that stretch was 94 wins and 22 losses. He made the rivalry against Michigan feel like a foregone conclusion year after year, and in a rivalry that carries the kind of weight that one game alone has ended coaching careers and defined legacies, that consistency meant everything. He reached 3 BCS national championship games. 3 separate times he guided the Buckeyes through an entire season and arrived at the final stage of college football's biggest moment. And in 2002, he did not just arrive. He finished the job. An undefeated season, the national title, the whole thing. Start to finish, no blemishes, no losses to explain away in retrospect. Just a perfect season with the hardware to prove it. That is the man who showed up to run Shedeur Sanders through drills this offseason. Not a well-meaning former player trying to stay connected to the game. Not a coach looking for relevance by attaching his name to a story people are already paying attention to. A 4-time national champion, a program builder, a man whose coaching resume reads like something out of a history book. And here is the detail that tells you more than any clip or quote ever could. Shedeur's own camp did not post the footage. There was no coordinated release, no strategic time drop designed to generate buzz at peak engagement hours. Someone else caught it. Someone else uploaded it. The story spread organically because the moment was genuinely worth spreading, not because a PR strategy engineered it that way. Men who have won at Jim Tressel's level do not show up casually. Their time has real value. Their name has real weight. They have been around enough talent over enough decades to immediately recognize the difference between a player who knows how to look serious and a player who actually is serious. And the fact that Tressel keeps returning, session after session, when he could be doing anything else with his summer, is a statement that does not require translation. But the session itself, what actually happened inside that gym, tells its own story. And that story carries a technical detail buried underneath all the social media noise that most people scrolled right past without stopping to understand what it actually meant. The clip that broke the conversation open was not a deep ball dropped into the back corner of the end zone. It was not a scrambled drill or a no-look throw engineered to perform well on someone's timeline. It was Shedeur Sanders standing in a gym, closing his eyes, and completing the rep anyway. Clean delivery, confident release. The kind of throw where the body already knows the geometry before the eyes have a chance to confirm anything. The internet treated it like content. Reactions, stitches, debate threads about whether the whole thing was impressive or staged for the algorithm. And underneath all of that noise, the actual significance of what was happening on that tape got completely buried. Here is what the eyes closed drill actually represents at a technical level.
Before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. Share this video with your friends so they don't miss out on all the drama and excitement.
When you remove visual confirmation from a throwing rep, you strip the process down to its most fundamental layer. What remains is pure muscle memory, the accumulated result of thousands and thousands of repetitions, where the body has internalized the geometry of the throw so completely that it no longer requires conscious guidance to execute it. The arm angle, the hip rotation, the release point, the follow-through, all of it happens because the system has been trained to that level of precision over an enormous volume of work. You do not arrive at that point through casual preparation. You do not get there by showing up to a gym a few times a week when the schedule allows. You get there through the kind of daily volume that transforms conscious, deliberate effort into something automatic. And critically, you do not arrive there on workout number 1. You arrive there after the kind of sustained daily commitment that makes workout number 4 feel like a natural continuation of the routine rather than an extraordinary feat. That detail, the 4th workout of the day, is the part of this story that stopped analysts mid-sentence on live broadcasts. By dinner time, 4 documented workouts, Not 4 sessions across a full week, 4 in a single day, with the sun still finishing its descent. One analyst put it plainly, and the observation landed hard enough that people were still quoting it hours later. He said he had not seen a single verified piece of off-season workout footage from Josh Allen. Not one clip, not one confirmed session that had been documented and released. Meanwhile, Shedeur was already 4 reps deep into his day, before most people had cleared their evening commute. The question that followed got laughs in the room but was completely serious underneath the surface. Is there a 5th workout? Does session 6 happen after Jim Tressel heads home for the evening? The comedic framing did not change what the question was actually pointing at. The daily habit is real, it is documented, and it is being captured not by Shedeur's own team, but by other people's cameras, which means it is happening whether or not anyone is watching. That distinction carries more weight than people are giving it credit for. Most off-season content gets released strategically. There is a logic to when it goes out, how it is framed, what it is meant to communicate. The footage that has been generating this conversation does not follow that pattern. It surfaces because someone else is in the building and decides to post what they saw. That is a fundamentally different kind of credibility than a highlight package assembled by a media team. And when the 4-time national champion standing in the room with you is not part of a planned announcement, but just a detail that somebody else happened to catch on camera, the authenticity of the whole picture comes into focus in a way that a coordinated release never could have achieved. The work is happening, the habits are visible, and those habits are pointing directly into a quarterback competition that is significantly more complicated than the way it has been covered would lead most people to believe. Let us be completely straight about what is actually happening inside the Cleveland Browns quarterback room, because some of the coverage around Shedeur has been painting a picture that is a little too clean and a little too settled to be honest about the reality of the situation. This is not a coronation. Todd Monken has made that point clearly enough that it should not need repeating, but here it is anyway because the narrative sometimes moves faster than the facts. The starting quarterback job in Cleveland is not assigned. It is not inherited. It is not handed over because a Hall of Famer said something complimentary on a podcast or because a national champion showed up to a summer gym session. It is earned, in real time, on a real practice field, against real competition. Deshaun Watson is in that quarterback room. Whatever the organizational complexities are around his contract and his history, he brings NFL starting experience that carries real weight in a quarterback competition. He has played in playoff games. He has managed offenses against elite defenses at the highest level of professional football. That experience does not disappear because the off-season storyline has been dominated by someone else. Dillon Gabriel is in that room too. He finished his college career with efficiency numbers that get front office attention. He is not a placeholder filling a roster spot to maintain the appearance of competition. He is a real option that Todd Monken and the Cleveland organization are taking seriously, because if they were not, he would not be in the building. Monken planted the seed directly and clearly. The message to every quarterback in that room was simple and unambiguous. You are in a competition, all of you. The job belongs to whoever earns it when real football starts happening. Go to work. And that is exactly the context in which the summer gym sessions, the eyes-closed drills, and the legend guest appearances have to be understood. They are not the answer to the competition. They are the preparation for it. The daily habit that positions a player to perform when the grading actually starts and the stakes are real. Now, there is a layer underneath the football decisions that is worth addressing directly, but needs to be framed clearly as exactly what it is. Rumors have circulated, and this is unverified, nothing sourced with named credibility attached to it, but the kind of chatter that does not completely emerge from nothing in an NFL setting, that the Browns' front office dynamics around this quarterback competition may not map perfectly onto what plays out on pure merit during training camp. Reports suggest the organizational picture has more moving parts than the public version of events indicates. Nothing confirmed, nothing that rises to the level of a factual claim, but worth watching as the situation develops. What none of that organizational noise changes is the side of the ledger that Shedeur actually controls.
Before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. Share this video with your friends so they don't miss out on all the drama and excitement.
He cannot control the contract weight of Deshaun Watson's situation. He cannot control front office dynamics or the organizational calculations that happen behind closed doors. He cannot control the narrative that builds around a competition before a single live snap has been taken in an actual NFL setting. What he can control is the daily work, the habit, the presence in the building and in the gym before the season requires it. And what he can control is the kind of relationships that get built when you show up consistently and work without needing the camera to be pointed at you to sustain the effort. That is the competition Shedeur is winning right now, the one that happens before anyone is officially keeping score. And when the real scoring starts, the foundation underneath it either holds or it does not. The first voice to say something definitive about what Shedeur actually has said it before the draft even happened, and he said it in technical language that does not leave much room to dismiss it as enthusiasm. Before the draft, before the selection, before Shedeur ever dressed in a Cleveland Browns uniform and faced a live defense in an NFL stadium, Kurt Warner was already on record with his evaluation. And the way he delivered it was not a hype statement designed to generate attention. It was a technical read from a technical mind, offered in the precise language of someone who played the position at its absolute highest level. Warner is not a commentator who arrived at quarterback analysis from the outside. He played the position in the NFL. He won a Super Bowl. He built a Hall of Fame career that started in circumstances nobody could have scripted, going from a grocery store worker to one of the most decorated quarterbacks in the history of the game. He understands what the position demands from the inside, in a way that most analysts simply cannot replicate, because most analysts never experience the position from that vantage point. When Warner evaluates quarterback mechanics, he is drawing on something that goes beyond film study. He is drawing on lived experience at the elite level of the same job. What he said about Shedeur was specific and direct. He called him the most accurate quarterback in the entire 2025 draft class, not among the more accurate ones. Not a top-tier option in terms of ball placement, the most accurate, a single definitive read on an entire group of prospects evaluated against each other. And his explanation was not vague. He broke it down to a specific skill set executed under specific conditions. When Shedeur sets his feet, when he is comfortable and operating from a stable base in the pocket, and when he delivers the ball goes exactly where he intends it to go. That is a targeted evaluation of a specific, trainable, measurable skill from someone who spent his entire career mastering that exact skill. That is not general optimism about a prospect's ceiling. That is a quarterback analyst who has done the tape work and arrived at a precise conclusion. Warner did not stop after the draft. When Shedeur made his NFL debut against the Ravens, Warner came back. He did not post a reaction take or a quick opinion drop. He did a full film breakdown. Real film, pulled from the actual game, evaluated in the actual context of what was happening on the field in real time against a real NFL defense. He showed the strong throws with honest context about why they were strong. He showed the difficult moments with the same honesty, without burying them or framing them in a way that protected a narrative he had already committed to. And the underlying posture of the entire breakdown carried a consistent respect. The kind of respect you extend to a quarterback you are treating as a real player working through real challenges and developing in real time, not a curiosity or a story that happens to have a compelling off-field angle. That approach tells you where Warner's evaluation actually sits. He is not invested in a feel-good storyline about Shedeur. He is invested in what the film is telling him. And so far, the film has been consistent enough with his initial read that his evaluation has held steady across months of additional information. In a media environment where takes flip overnight based on a single bad quarter, where narratives reverse themselves on the basis of one viral clip or one rough series, Warner staying in the same place, grounded in the same technical evidence, is its own form of credibility. It is the posture of someone whose read is built on a foundation that does not require constant adjustment based on whatever the current story is. Warner's evaluation comes from tape study and broadcast observation. It is credible, and it carries genuine weight in the conversation. But there is a category of endorsement that carries a different kind of gravity, the kind that only comes from someone who has been watching the work happen in person, up close, every single day. Bernie Kosar had no reason to go public. That is the part of this entire story that deserves far more attention than it has been receiving, because it is the part that makes everything else he said land with a different kind of weight. There was no prior relationship between Kosar and Shedeur Sanders before this year. No shared history, no previous camp connection, no existing dynamic that would create a natural obligation to say something kind or supportive. They were strangers before Shedeur walked into that Cleveland Browns facility and started doing the daily work that eventually put them in the same building at the same time. Bernie Kosar is the last Cleveland Browns quarterback that the city's fan base can point to and say with genuine conviction, that one was ours, that one was real, that one gave us something worth remembering. He played in an era when the franchise still had an identity at the quarterback position. He understands the full emotional and professional weight of that job in that building better than almost anyone still connected to the organization, because he carried it himself during the years when the Browns were a team the rest of the league took seriously.
Before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. Share this video with your friends so they don't miss out on all the drama and excitement.
He did not owe Shedeur a quote. He did not owe him a public statement, a social media endorsement, or a word of any kind. Nothing in their history before this year created any expectation that Kosar would weigh in on a young quarterback's future. What happened was straightforward. Shedeur showed up. He got to work. And Kosar, who has been around enough quarterbacks across enough decades to understand immediately the difference between a player who is managing his image and a player who is genuinely serious about the craft, started noticing. Not from a distance. Up close in the building, watching the daily routine unfold over time. What Kosar saw was not the eyes-closed drill that broke the internet. It was the detail that exists before the clip, before the camera, before anyone has decided to post anything. First one out to the practice field in the morning, last one to leave in the afternoon. Individual drills running on his own time, not because the schedule requires them, and not because a coach is standing there evaluating every rep, but because the commitment to the work does not require external motivation to sustain itself. That is the version of Shedeur that got Bernie Kosar's attention. Not a highlight, not a moment designed for consumption. The daily habit, repeating itself without fanfare, building on itself quietly over weeks until the pattern becomes undeniable to anyone paying close enough attention. Kosar also brought up something that tends to get passed over in coverage that focuses primarily on football evaluation. He talked about Shedeur's presence with people around the facility, signing autographs after sessions without being asked, being genuinely accessible rather than performing accessibility as a brand strategy. And when that came up on camera, Shedeur's response was the kind of answer that either sounds authentic or it obviously does not. He said there is no reason to fake anything at this point in his life. No strategy behind the behavior, no calculation driving the decisions about how he presents himself to people. just who he actually is and how he actually moves through the world. Here is why that answer carries real weight beyond the surface of it. Shedeur has been giving some version of that same answer since his days at Jackson State. The framing shifts slightly depending on the context and the audience, but the core of the response stays consistent across years and across completely different circumstances. It has not become more polished over time. It has not evolved into something that sounds more carefully considered or strategically constructed. It remains essentially the same, which is usually what happens when an answer is just true. When Bernie Kosar, a man who carried the weight of an entire franchise on his arm through the years when that franchise still mattered in the AFC, looks at a young quarterback and says plainly that he has the right stuff, the people in Cleveland who have been waiting a long time for a real answer at that position stop and listen. Warner arrived at his conclusion through tape. Kosar arrived through presence. Different paths, same destination. And then comes the rest of the list. Lay all 5 names out in one place and look at what you are actually looking at. Because the pattern they create together is significantly harder to dismiss than any one of them is individually. Kurt Warner, Super Bowl champion, Hall of Famer, one of the most technically credible voices on quarterback mechanics and decision-making in the entire sport today. He studied Shedeur's tape against an entire draft class of quarterbacks and landed on most accurate passer in the group. He had no prior relationship driving that conclusion, no angle that required him to say something positive. Just film study and an honest technical read that he has stood behind across months of additional information. Bernie Kosar, the last Cleveland Browns quarterback that an entire fan base can point to as a genuine franchise centerpiece during the modern era. A man who played the position in that city under that specific pressure and carries a first-hand understanding of what the job demands in that building. He had zero connection to Shedeur before this year. He watched him show up and work, and then went public with his backing based entirely on what he personally observed over time. In-person evaluation, a relationship built from nothing into something real. Peyton Manning, possibly the most analytically sophisticated quarterback who ever played the game at the professional level. He ran Shedeur through actual routes on a nationally televised ESPN platform, not a courtesy appearance designed to generate buzz, not a staged moment built around a friendship or a favor, an actual working session that aired in front of the entire country. Manning has never been someone who shows up for things that are not worth his time. That has been true across every stage of his career, and it remains true now. Hanford Dixon, a man who played in Cleveland, who loves the franchise with real conviction, and who has watched a long and genuinely painful rotation of quarterbacks cycle through that building across decades without any of them establishing themselves as the real answer. He did not hedge his take. He did not offer a conditional read pending more information from training camp. He said plainly, give Shedeur the real opportunity to start. A straight public position with no qualifying language attached. And Jim Tressel, 4 national championships, 94 wins at Ohio State, a career defined by building programs from the ground up and developing players who go on to perform at the next level. He is spending his summer in a gym with a Cleveland Browns quarterback on what might be that quarterback's 4th workout of the day, running mechanics drills when most people have already started winding down for the evening. Now, the skeptical version of this story exists, and it is worth engaging with honestly rather than dismissing, because there are reasonable people making a reasonable argument on that side of the conversation. Shedeur Sanders runs one of the more sophisticated personal branding operations in all of sports. Shedeur's public image has been carefully cultivated since his high school years. The argument goes that some of what gets framed as organic, authentic, grassroots credibility could carry a layer of intentional strategy underneath it that the surface presentation does not advertise. That is a fair thing to sit with. It is not an unreasonable observation about a family that has demonstrated a real understanding of how public narrative gets built and maintained. But here is where that argument runs directly and unavoidably into a wall. Jim Tressel does not need the platform. Bernie Kosar's reputation does not grow from backing a rookie quarterback who has not yet proven himself in NFL competition. Kurt Warner's Hall of Fame credentials are not enhanced by attaching his name to a player who has started a handful of professional games. Peyton Manning does not gain anything from a televised workout session with a young quarterback he is not obligated to evaluate publicly. None of these men have anything material to gain from manufactured association with Shedeur Sanders. They have all been around enough genuine talent across enough decades to recognize almost immediately the difference between performed seriousness and the real thing. 5 of the most credible talent radars in the history of football are reading the same signal from the same source. That is not a coincidence you can explain away with a branding strategy, no matter how sophisticated the branding operation behind it might be. Here is the honest part of this entire conversation, and it matters enough to take its own space without softening it or burying it at the end. No legend endorsement wins Shedeur Sanders the starting quarterback job in Cleveland. Not one of them. Not all 5 placed side by side with every quote stacked on top of each other. The job does not get awarded in a gym in July, or on a podcast in May, or through a training session that somebody else's camera happened to capture. Todd Monken is going to evaluate this competition when real football starts happening and real stakes are attached to every rep. He is going to track how fast Shedeur processes what a defense is presenting before the snap, when the coverage disguises itself, and the pre-snap read has to happen in real time under real pressure. He is going to watch what happens when a drill breaks down unexpectedly, and the huddle needs someone to reset the energy and refocus the group without losing the confidence of the players around him. He is going to sit in film rooms and evaluate decisions that were made at full speed under live pressure, not the decisions that looked clean on a summer tape when the setting was controlled and the stakes were theoretical. And the teammates and coaches in that building are going to form their own independent read on who they trust when the moment gets genuinely heavy, not when everything is clicking and the energy is good and the reps are going well. When it is not. When something breaks down unexpectedly and the huddle needs to know who is steady at the center of it. That is where the starting job gets decided. On a practice field in Cleveland when August arrives and the real competition begins in full, not in a July gym, and not in a quote from a Hall of Famer who walked through the door and nodded at what he saw. Deshaun Watson brings NFL starting experience and an organizational investment that carries its own real weight in these conversations regardless of how the public narrative around this competition has framed things. Dillon Gabriel finished his college career with efficiency numbers that front offices track seriously. This is a genuine 3-way competition, and anyone who frames it as already settled is operating on wishful thinking, rather than an honest reading of what Monken has communicated directly and repeatedly. The organizational layer underneath the football decisions is worth addressing one more time, with the same framing applied to it earlier. Rumors suggest the internal Browns dynamic around this competition may not map perfectly onto what plays out strictly on merit when practice begins. Nothing confirmed, nothing verified, nothing attached to a name that would give it sourced credibility. But the kind of chatter that tends to circulate in league circles when a situation has more moving parts internally than the public version of the story reveals. Watch that space as training camp develops, but do not draw conclusions from it yet. What none of that changes is the ledger Shedeur actually controls, the daily work that keeps leaking through other people's cameras, because it is happening regardless of whether the documentation was planned. The habits that Bernie Kosar noticed before he ever said a single public word about them. The consistency that has kept Kurt Warner's evaluation intact across months of additional information. The willingness to be 4 sessions deep into a single day, when 2 sessions would have been enough for most people to feel satisfied with their preparation. Legend endorsements do not hand anyone anything in this league. What they do is confirm something that is significantly harder to manufacture than a highlight reel. They confirm what the daily reality looks like before the season arrives and before the mandatory work begins. And they confirm it from the vantage point of people who have been around enough real talent to know the difference the moment they see it. Training camp will give everyone the answers they are actually waiting for. The off-season already asked the question, and every morning that the footage surfaces through someone else's camera, Shedeur's answer to it has been exactly the same. Jim Tressel, Kurt Warner, Bernie Kosar, Peyton Manning, Hanford Dixon. 5 men who have operated at the absolute ceiling of this sport. 5 completely separate moments, 5 independent paths, 5 different vantage points, all reading the same signal and arriving at the same place. None of it hands Shedeur Sanders a starting job. None of it replaces what has to happen when Todd Monken opens training camp and real football begins deciding real things. The competition in Cleveland is genuine, the stakes are real, and the job belongs to nobody yet. Deshaun Watson and Dylan Gabriel are not standing aside. This plays out on the field, the way every meaningful thing in this league eventually does. But the pattern underneath all of this off-season noise is not something you dismiss with a take or explain away with a branding argument. Men like Tressel and Kosar and Warner do not attach their names and their credibility to something casually. They have seen enough real talent across enough years to know the difference immediately. And right now, every single one of them is reading the same thing. So here is what we want to know from you. Does this legend endorsement list actually mean something real heading into camp? Or does it all disappear the second real football starts and the scoreboard starts mattering? Drop your honest take in the comments right now. And if you have been watching Gridiron Ground for a while, you already know we go deeper than the surface on every story. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button now because the next video is already going to be something you do not want to miss. Gridiron Ground. We will see you there.
And it was like dinner time, 4th workout of the day. I'm like, 4 workouts? Man, Josh Allen, I don't see any evidence that he even has had 1 workout. And our quarterback has 4. And then, is there even more after that? Is there 5 and 6? Like, these guys, they are on the grind. They are on the hustle. And I'm telling you, I just think this is setting up. Todd Monken has clearly planted that seed that you guys, gentlemen, are in a competition. Get out there, close your eyes, throw some passes, workout, hustle, workout, grind, workout, lunch, workout, dinner, workout.
None of this is real.
Go to the D3 schools, work out some more. Have Jim Tressel come and hang out.
Draft Kurt Warner. NFL Legend says my evaluation of Shedeur is that he's the most accurate quarterback. I thought in this draft, Warner, what's it called? I thought in this draft, when he sets his feet, when he's comfortable in the pocket and he delivers the football, the ball goes where he wants it to go. And you know, not Shedeur, but Kurt Warner also did a really good breakdown on Shedeur's debut against the Ravens, and I really feel like he did a good job again.